Welcome to Real Estate Real Talk with me, Skyleigh. I'm a realtor, coach, and founder of Forever Kamloops and Forever Florida Real Estate Groups and the creator of Elevation Real Estate, the realtor coaching platform. After nearly a decade in this industry, I've built a business that gives me more freedom, more income, and more time with the people I love. And now I'm here to help other realtors do the same. This podcast is for agents who want to build a thriving real estate business without burning out. We talk about scaling smart and building systems so you can buy back your life, because life shouldn't feel like all work and no play. And if you're a buyer or seller tuning in, consider this your backstage pass. You'll hear unfiltered conversations with top agents and industry pros, giving you the same insights we share behind closed doors. Knowledge is power, and the more you know, the better you can advocate for yourself and work with someone who truly has your back. Let's get real.
Okay, sitting here with Joe Arno today, and I've had many conversations like this on the podcast, but this is a different spin on it. And I've always talked about growth and how people can help grow their teams. And your company, which is 4W Strategic Consulting, you're based out of Wake Forest, North Carolina, if I remember correctly, does this super well. And I love the formula that we chatted about for you helping people figure out where they belong in the real estate world and like what questions to ask and all of that. So I'm excited for this conversation today. You have so much experience. You've been in the industry for about 23 years, you mentioned, and you've worked from like small boutique brokerages to family-owned regional companies and then even to national brands. So I think that we're going to learn a lot from you. I'm curious to know how you decided to go from selling real estate and then got into this consulting for placement. It's just such a different way that people, or that you've decided to go in the industry.
Yeah, it wasn't a decision I made 20 years ago, that's for sure. It was just a journey I went on and got right into it, started selling right away. Yeah. Got the itch to open up my own brokerage because I wanted to do more than I could do myself and bring up other agents. And then got into managing offices, recruiting and coaching in other companies. And there was always I always work with my clients and companies about alignment. And I was out of alignment with what I was doing because I wasn't being 100% true to myself, where I was recruiting for different companies when some agents could go someplace else, yet I couldn't tell them. My goal was I had a quota I had to hit. I had to bring people into the building. So now it's when I figured that out, that was my anchor. That was like weighing me down. Now I do the same work. It's just that I don't have any commitment to any one company to bring people over. I only bring people to them when there is a great fit and a high probability of success for both. So that's how I work it. And it just feels so right. And it just happened just by going down the river or up the river.
I think when you like see a problem with what is happening and that you have a solution for that problem, it's so smart to like grab onto it, because if you can solve people's problems, obviously there's a business there. So it's really cool that you jumped in to do this, because I haven't heard other people doing this. And I think it is important having that third party person who can share all of the different models and all of the different formats, because as you and I were talking about earlier, is that if you get stuck talking to somebody who has incentive to bring you in, you're being sold something as opposed to given all of the options. I do this for everything that I buy. I don't want to talk to somebody who has quotas and who has all their own like personal like purpose for bringing you there. I would rather go to a broker model. That's for like mortgages. That's for when I buy insurance. That's for anything, because then you get really the full breakdown of everything, completely transparent, and that you can pick what's best for you and your family as opposed to being the box. Yeah. So I love that. I love that you created this. And remind me what the W stands for again. And
the 4W? Sure. It's the who, the where, the what and the why of an agent's compass. So everybody has a different attributes. Like we were saying earlier before we came on air, there's a million ways to make money in this business. And every person has their own specialties, their own attributes, whatever strengths or weaknesses they have, and they can't fit in one box. So they have to understand what are those 4 W's in order to be able to maximize their potential. So that's what we focus on is, who are they? Where should they be? Not just in brokerage, but where should they be in their career path? Should they be on a team? Should they be solo? Should they be leadership? And then we get into what they need to succeed and the why, because this business isn't easy.
Yeah.
So the big why has to be there too.
Yeah. The alignment with finding where you should be and even figuring out who you should be working with. I have made mistakes on business partners in the past, and I'm sure everybody on this listening, everybody who's even been a guest on the podcast, I always talk about failing forward. Like, you make mistakes and finding that alignment. I'm like, your business will grow so much faster if you find that alignment. Why is it that you think that agents have a hard time finding the right fit to begin with? Because it would be nice if you could just get it right the first time, which clearly is not the case. Yeah. But why do you think this happens?
The first time's always a crapshoot because an agent doesn't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
And they're just going blindly into the business thinking they're going to go sell houses, open doors. And a lot of them don't even have an idea of what it's about. And that first brokerage is a huge learning curve. And it's often not the forever home. The challenge is that every agent has their own circle of people they hang around with. And the messaging is so strong coming from some of the bigger brokerages that there are others out there that people don't even know exist. And I had an agent come to me that was in the business 12 years. And she was thinking about leaving her firm. And we started going through what she's looking for, where she wants to go with her business. She was going to go to one company. I talked her out of that because it would have stunted her growth. Yeah. And she agreed. I didn't talk her out of it. We came to the conclusion that it would have stunted her growth. And I turned her on to this company she didn't even know existed. And she's forever grateful. Because there's so many, and there are a lot of little boutique companies out there too that don't have the bandwidth to go out and tell people what they have. So to be the voice or the eyes and the ears of those small firms and to be able to understand that if there's somebody coming across that an agent that has the right stuff that's going to fit, where they're both going to thrive, it's pretty cool.
That is really cool. And like, obviously, all the different brokerages and what they offer, because I have actually found it hard to find information online even. And yeah. I think that if I can use like an analogy, it feels like I'm walking into one of the like furniture sales departments or stores and that there's all these like different salespeople coming at you being like, oh, what are you coming in for today? What are you coming in for today? And I'm like, I just want to see all the options, but then the furniture that they're getting paid the highest commission on is where they're directing you. And do you want a line of credit to go with that? And all the warranty and all the things. And I'm like, it would be nice to have the information without feeling like if you call someone to ask them questions, you're going to be sold and dragged in that direction. I actually don't know what all the models even look like, you said, or even all the models that exist, because I think people are scared to pick up the phone and ask, and you can't find it online. So
yeah, there's so many different kinds out there. And the biggest benefit of having someone like myself is, and you're a coach, you know this, it's getting a self-awareness of the agent. They need to understand what they need, what they want, who they are, before they even should go talk to a brokerage. And a lot of times they think they know. And once we start drilling down, when you start coaching them and asking those big questions that they don't know how to ask themselves or they're afraid to ask themselves, you really start to uncover what is their best path, where are their strengths, where do they need leverage. And that's when they can go to that brokerage, any brokerage, and now they have leverage themselves because they have the knowledge of what they need, and they can go in and say no and yes and figure out what their best.
Yeah, you really don't know what you don't know, and having the conversation that you're talking about, I think like writing down kind of like your wish list for what you're looking for so that you can go out and find it, because otherwise, again, you're being presented and you're like, that's a good idea, that's a good idea, I could use that, when in reality, like, you know what you need, you just need to talk about it, uncover it, because sometimes it's not always at the forefront of your mind, and then go find it. Don't get sold something that's not actually important to you because it sounds like a good idea from someone else that did really well with that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. The shiny object syndrome. So the challenge with sitting down and doing it yourself is going back to you not asking the hard question.
No, you're not.
And you're looking at yourself through a lens that is a lens you want to look at yourself through, right? It's not necessarily always the reality. And somebody might have aspirations of being somebody that they can't be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a bad thing, because there's somebody that they will be that could be that's going to surpass that other person. Can't fake it.
No.
You can't fake it. You can have all the pretty pictures out there you want, and it's not going to build your business.
No, definitely. And then, like, how does like misalignment hurt your career, like, long term? Because I think people get in a brokerage, and again, people don't know what they don't know, and people don't like change.
Yeah.
So
that there's a place for that, right? Some people just don't like change, and they're okay just staying flat. And that's who they want to be. That's who they are. So you can't talk them out of it. You can't want more out of your agents that you're coaching than they want.
Yeah.
So if somebody's happy just sitting and coasting along, that's great. If they're coasting along and they're miserable, that's a problem. That's the one we can solve and get them to open their eyes and see what else is out there. The stagnation in any business is bad. It's a death knell. You're not going to make it, right? If you're not growing, you're dying. And staying flat, same production every year over year, is not growth. You're going backwards because the economy is chugging ahead while you're just staying flat.
Yeah, no, 100%. So then, do you have any of the kind of like hard questions that you could share with us, kind of like off the top of your head, even just like one or two, just so that people can think like?
That's a really good question. It's hard. I think the biggest one is, what are your non-negotiables in business and in life? That's the biggest one, because that's where you start. You start with what you'll never want to do. And you got to be like ridiculously never want to do that. If you don't know where to start with, I don't want to shovel poop out of a stall in a barn, if that's something you don't want to do. Some people love mucking. Some people don't, right? What is it you will never, ever do? And start building that towards your business, what you've seen others do that you'll never want to do, what you've done that you'll never want to do. Start with that, and then you eliminate you're going to save a lot of time when you start seeing the stuff that you really want to do. And the hard part is getting to the reality of, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and she was eager to get into this luxury market with all these slick photos and all this imagery that she's looking at to do. And we started asking the questions. That's not who she is. And she's not going to succeed in a fake place. So her being herself is far more valuable than her looking slick on a Facebook post or on a billboard, whatever it is. So it's hard to say what are those hard questions, because it takes getting to really understand what people want to do and where their strengths are and who they are, what's their personality. So you got to look at people that, again, get the non-negotiables out of the way and start building your base from there. That's probably the one thing that somebody can do without having somebody drilling into them.
Well, I like that question though, because the non-negotiables can be different for everyone. Like my non-negotiable, I'm like, I will not be trading time away from my kids for my career, which I love my career, but the point of my career is to make it so I have time for my kids. So I'm like, I
That's right.
wouldn't be trading time with my kids because then that's backwards.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great question because everybody's going to have a different non-negotiable, right? Some people are
Absolutely.
going
I'll
to.
never knock doors, right?
Mhm.
I'm not going to go knock. People make a career out of knocking on doors, and there are some people that I'm not going to knock on doors, right? I'm not going to TikTok. You're not going to see, personally, I'm not going to be TikToking. You're not going to see me dancing on doing stupid stuff on TikTok.
I don't even
I don't
have
even have the
TikTok,
app. I
so
don't either. I'm
I
good.
hear you. I actually really Facebook, and my partner always laughs at me. You're such a boomer. He's you and your mom are hanging out on Facebook, and the rest of the world is on TikTok. And I'm like, no TikTok.
Right. It all depends on where your people are, right? And where you want to
So
be.
funny.
That's the beauty of it. There's plenty of people on Facebook that are going to follow you and engage with you on that.
But I do think that comes back to the alignment piece that we were talking about as well, because your non-negotiables are going to be the same as other people's non-negotiables. And then that's how you can show up as your like true self. If you're authentically saying, these are my non-negotiables, this is what's important to me, again, you're just going to like attract and fall into the group of other people. It's so much easier to be successful in life when you're around a bunch of people that feel the same way you do. I
Absolutely.
never understood. This happened to me when I was getting started in real estate, and the team that I was like interviewing to go on, he was like, I was dressed quite nice for the interview for the team, obviously, but he was like, yeah, just keep dressing like the women on the TV show Suits and you'll be fine. I don't dress like the women on the TV show Suits. And for the first couple of years, I thought that I had to. And I was like,
Right.
this just doesn't feel right. And it took a couple years, but I just show up authentically me now, and it's still fine. And I do better now than
It works.
I like. It's just
It works.
you attract what you put out. I would never want to be that person who is one thing on social media and then a completely different person when you meet me and I'm helping you in your business, because you can only hide
Right.
for so long. Eventually your true self will come out. So you might as well just be you.
Yeah. I have a buddy up in Massachusetts who he's always in shorts. He's probably shoveling snow in shorts right now. He's always in a casual shirt, like floral shirt, like he just came off the beach or at the bar or whatever. And he is very successful. He works with clients in every strata of money, just knows what he's doing, and he's himself. And people love that.
Oh my goodness.
It's refreshing to have somebody that's fully themselves, and you can feel it. There's an energy when somebody comes to you and they're comfortable with themselves and they know who they are. There's no, that anxiety is gone. They're paying attention. They're focused. They're not going to get rattled. It comes across.
Yeah. So do you think that people realize that they're like misaligned
No.
in themselves, or do you think that it's something that other people notice first?
That's a good one. It comes in different ways, right? Sometimes somebody else might notice it. And typically, I don't even think the individual knows it. They, like I was saying earlier, there's just something that's not clicking. And until that door is opened or that you can see that where you can go, you just don't know. And that's what you do. That's who you are until you know that there's better. And it's hard to come to that realization sitting with a pad and paper. You can get there. It just takes a lot of deep thought. And a lot of people just get up, keep doing the same thing every day. It's going to get better. I was told to make 5 posts a day on every social media platform, make 20 phone calls. I'm going to do that every day. And they just keep going and never get comfortable with it. And it only will get them so far. So it's hard. It's hard to figure that out on your own.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously there's a lot of like personal development that happens over the course of years as well. And maybe what fit you at one point doesn't fit you
That's right.
after. How do you feel about people who have been at brokerages for so long and then they're like, I don't think this is the right fit for me, and they're starting over somewhere new? Do you think that's a great thing to do? Is that a scary thing to do? How do you help people with that? Because again, people change, right? What is it? Your cells turn over every 7 years, right?
I go for 3. It's brutal. Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic. When somebody finally realizes, they look at where they are in their business and their life, and they say, this isn't working. I'm better than this. And they might not even know what that better is. They just know there's something better, and they figure it out and they move on. It is scary. It's scary to move from change is scary, or flip it and it's exciting. How do you want to look at it? Same nerve endings.
I was going to say, I think that excited and nervousness all comes from the same part of your body. It's just like how you actually talk about it, just internal dialogue.
And that excitement comes with confidence. If that person that's been in an agency for 10 years and knows they want to do something else, they need to have that confidence in knowing what they need, knowing who they are, where their values are, what true alignment inside themselves and for their business is. And then that change is going to be exciting because it's stepping into something. They're not running away. I used to do that. I've done that too many times from different jobs before real estate. I'd run from one job because I was miserable for whatever reason, and I just run into something else, and it was equally as bad, if not worse. So agents now with some experience in doing that is you got to slow down. You really got to understand why you're leaving and what you want to get out of that move. I've spoken to agents and told them they should stay where they are. And I didn't tell them. We came to the conclusion that they are where they should be. They just need to refocus their energies or get some coaching. And so it's not all about being aligned or misaligned. Isn't necessarily about the brokerage. It's about themselves and how they work.
Yeah.
And that's got to be done first.
And because that shiny object syndrome, right? There's so many places you can go. There's so many brokerages you can go to. There's so many people that are changing the kind of career trajectory within the industry that they're in. Like some people might be selling and then they're switching to coaching and then they want business partners, right? There's so many different kind of exciting opportunities that can pop up in front of your face. And I think that's a great point, is that just because there is something shiny and new doesn't necessarily mean you need to run to it. You can just be happy where you are and refocus and not squirrel off to try and put energy into something else. I actually have been the villain to my own problem. I actually am recklessly optimistic. I have said this many times. I'm recklessly optimistic. So I have jumped into different opportunities, which I'm very happy with the learning that I have come from. There is no part of me that regrets any of this. I don't think that I would change my reckless optimism for anything. However, as we learn, we adjust. And I'm curious to know if there are questions or anything like that you can suggest to me for people like me, even for when fun opportunities pop up or business partners pop up. How do you make sure that you are in alignment with people and opportunities when, again, a lot of times it's a pitch and I'm not seeing it for actually what it is, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it's like going for a job interview, or when you're hiring somebody, be slow to hire and quick to fire, right? Or dating. You want to date them for a while to make sure that there is a good match. If there's pressure that you have to do this now or you're going to lose the opportunity, that should be red flags right there. If it's a real relationship that they're trying to create, a real opportunity, and there's real value in that, speed to doing it probably isn't as important as doing it right. So I'd be cautious if somebody says, we have to get this rolling, I need you to sign up today or 2 weeks. I've been burnt on that a couple of times myself. It just happens. You get excited and sounds good. And then you get in there, it's, how come I didn't see this? And it's that you got to be slow. You got to slow it down. And I can think of one occasion right now where I wish I had somebody, I wish I had somebody that could have mentored me through that decision. I probably wouldn't have made it. And if I had somebody else looking at it without the rose-colored glasses, without that crazy optimism. So, you got to slow it down.
Yeah, there needs to be a happy medium, right? Because there's also the pessimist type. And if you're too far pessimistic, that's also not good, because then you're never going to do anything, because it's all going to look bad. And then if you're recklessly optimistic like me, I'm like wanting to give everything a try and giving everybody the benefit of the doubt and thinking that there's no way that would be the thought pattern of that. Who would think that way? It's just so ridiculous. But it's happened to me time and time again, which is hilarious. But I think there's a happy medium where if you are on either side of that, like having a soundboard like yourself, being like, can you be an unbiased opinion and pull me a little bit further in the direction of a medium mindset? I think that's obviously hard.
I think one of the things that I tend to overlook, and I think this happens a lot, is what is the actual track record of the person that wants to partner with me or I'm following? What is their track record? How did they handle different things along the way to get to where they are now? Because that track record is their future, right? Not much changes in the way people act. So whatever they had done in the past, their activities, the decisions they had made, the way they did things, that's who they are. So that's probably one thing that somebody could do, is really dig into or ask the questions. Why did this fail? Or why did you make that decision? Or why did that succeed? What happened to this relationship? Why, whatever it is, dig to get that out.
You're reminding me of two things that I had learned in the last couple of years. And this came from like the dating world and from business partners and like friendships, all of the relationships that I've had. There was two things that I had learned and I wrote down and I come back to all the time. And one is exactly what we're talking about, which is history leaves clues. Like whatever people have told you about their relationships and business partners, all of that, the track record, like you said, history will repeat itself, because if that's who they are, then you should believe it, which is the other one that I always come back to, is when people show you their true colors, you have to believe them. So I am growing and learning to remind myself of those two things, but it's nice that you're saying the same thing that I have learned in the last little while. And I'm like, it leaves clues. Ask them about how their last partnership ended. And why.
How many lawsuits you've been in?
Yeah, exactly. I ended up going onto your website and I saw the questionnaire breakdown that you have on there, which I think is really cool to see about alignment. And where do you think that people should go to learn more about what you do? And remind me where that kind of one-page fill out.
Of course. Thank you. So it's the 4wassessment.com. And it's assessment that will help agents understand where their strengths are. Should they be on a team? Or are they more geared towards being solo? Or are they trying to be solo and they should be on a team? Mm-hmm. Should they be leadership in a company? Should they be building their own team? And it scales on there are 5 different positions in there where you get measured. So an agent can see, okay, right now I'm a solid team player, and now I have some strengths that can get me solo, or strengths that can get me into leadership, so they can see their future as well. And then with that, right now there's no cost to this, so this is still fairly nascent. I've only had that I don't even think a year yet, so that's still available for agents to go in and just check it out and do it. You get instant results, and then you'll get an email with a link. You can set up an appointment Again, that there's no cost at that point either. And if it's a placement issue where you want to get placed in another company, that typically doesn't cost an agent any money. The companies usually compensate me when I bring the right person in. And if they wanted to get into coaching, that's another conversation. But the first conversation, at least the first conversation, is there's no charge. It's got to get to know each other and see if I can help them and they like the way I work. And we go from there. So 4wassessment.com. Takes about 5 minutes.
Yeah, I love that. Like I said, I opened it up earlier and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go fill that out once we're done this conversation. But I thought that was a really fun tool that you have on your website. And it does just bring the conversation and thought to people if they're in the right spot. And nothing feels better than being in the right spot. Life just feels lighter when you're actually in alignment and that you're with the people that you should be with. So I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I think that I learned a lot from you. I'm sure that everybody else did as well. I'm going to put the links in the show notes as per usual. You guys go do the assessment. I think a lot of people aren't really sure where they should be, what they should be doing, who they should be hanging out with. And if you're in the right spot, great. But if you're not, then maybe this is the start of a fun conversation. So thanks, Joe.
Let's do it. Thank you, Sally.
That's a wrap on this episode of Real Estate Real Talk. Whether you're an agent building your business or a buyer or seller trying to get the real story, thanks for being here. If this episode gave you clarity, confidence, or just something to talk about, I'd love for you to follow, rate, and share the show. It helps more people find these conversations. If you have questions or want to connect, head over to SkyleighMcCallum.com or come hang out with me on Instagram. Thanks for listening, and I hope you catch the next episode on Real Estate Real Talk.